Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
We are back.
Yeah, we're back on schedule, kind of.
Ish.
Yeah, kind of ish, sort of.
We're getting back on track.
Yeah.
This one will be posted on Wednesday. Back to regular posting at least.
Yeah, back to regular posting for sure.
Yeah. Well, until the season ends, and then
Yeah, so
it doesn't matter.
We'll record today, which is Monday. Then we'll record again Wednesday?
Yeah.
Or are we recording next Wednesday?
This Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one's coming out this Wednesday, which will be the 31st or the 1st of October. Is there a 31st of September?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I believe you, but I'm double checking. Yeah, no, there isn't.
Trust but verify.
Okay, yeah. So it'd be the 1st, and then the last episode before we go on a break
should be.
is the
8th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The 8th.
And then we'll be on break for a couple weeks, and then we'll be back at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very excited. There are going to be some very fun things to come in season 2. I have a lot of ideas already.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And I think it's about time that we get some guests on.
Yeah, for sure.
For season 3, for
Absolutely.
sure. Season 3. I'm really planning ahead right now.
Yeah.
Season 2, I mean. Season 2, I mean. We'll definitely bring in some guests for season 2.
Yeah, I think it's about time.
Yeah.
I know we wanted to do it this season, but it was just too much.
Yeah.
It was too much trying to get into the rhythm. Now we're in the rhythm.
And
now
I will say I'm glad we started out just us.
Yeah, no.
Getting
100%.
used to things, getting used to our chemistry, and like what it looks like to actually do this every week. And
yeah, of course. I
think adding a guest this season would have been too soon. Like too much too soon.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, but we're excited. There's a lot of fun stuff coming up. So.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to be continuing our little mini series on relationships today. But
yeah.
Any random topics, random conversations before we dive in?
So I don't know if you've seen him, but he's a guy on TikTok from Minnesota. He is, I want to say, anywhere from 19 to 23. And he is building his house by himself.
I think I saw like half of a clip.
Yeah.
Of someone building their house from scratch, but I don't know if it's the same guy that you're talking about.
Well, this guy has inspired me.
Is he blonde?
Yes.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He has a mustache.
Yeah.
Good old mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah. He inspired me so much because I used to work construction a little bit. Back when like all these apartments were going up like crazy. But he inspired me to basically do the same thing he's doing.
Yeah.
Instead of buying like an already made house, just buying the land, having people come and pour the cement for the floor, and then obviously like have somebody come and find water and then the septic, and then just pretty much do my own stuff from there.
Yeah.
Get quoted on material, save all that money on labor, just do it myself. I think I could figure it out.
I mean, if you can do it, it's going to be way cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's building this huge house for himself.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember he showed us numbers in one of his videos, and I think after everything totaling out, including like, I'm talking about everything, it came out to like 324,000. And he's building a huge home that's easily going to be sold for like $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
well, plus if you think about it too, like right now, if you were to go out and buy all around it, like a $3,300,000 home,
right,
that's probably not going to have everything that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll have to add roughly, I'm going to say bare minimum, probably like 80,000 in repairs and like redecorating or reconstruction, whatever you want to do to the house.
Mm-hmm.
So then that already brings your price up. And then also, I don't think I've ever met anyone that buys a house outright
Right.
And so you also would have to worry about mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And so that literally just cuts all of that.
Right. And like, I think the cool thing is like he's not paying a mortgage. He's just paying off all the materials that he used.
But it's as he's building it. Like, he's not doing more than he needs to.
No,
like, he's doing it as he's building it.
Well, so what he did was he got the blueprints for his house.
Mm-hmm.
He had somebody do the blueprints, right? And then he had a couple different companies quote him on the all the what am I thinking of? All the material, basically, like wood, flooring, windows, everything, right? And he had 2 companies quote. He took it to the bank. The bank approved his loan, and they basically loaned him the money to buy all that material. He bought all the material, the exact number of everything that he needed for the home, and he doesn't have to buy extra of anything unless he wants to. And then he's just paying off that as what would technically be his mortgage.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think it's perfect, especially for where I want to move. Land is really cheap. So it's like, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
Might as well start saving up for a little.
I've always said that too. I would always rather buy land and do a custom build.
Right.
Than like buy, especially because as much as I think it's important for kids to have like a suburban neighborhood in the sense of like kids their age around them. Mm-hmm. Other than that, like, I don't want to be around people, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if I'd want to be like in a neighborhood or in a city or even in a suburb. Like, I'd much rather be like in the country and like on acreage.
Right. And I think that that's what's good for the area that I'm looking at. I'll just say it, in South Carolina, it's you're pretty well off getting that piece of land out in the country, and you're still like 30 minutes out of the city.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. So you're not really far from anything. It just depends where you build. You'd be further closer to the Trader Joe's or the Costco. And that's really it. And I was watching some guy, so he's a realtor that posts on YouTube, and he was talking about like, that's usually people's first questions, like, okay, where's the Costco? Because I want to live close to the Costco. Or where's the Trader Joe's? Because I want to live closer to the Trader Joe's. Yeah. And I was reading into it in the city that I'm looking at. They're on opposite ends of each other. Of the city. So it's that's like funny. It's like for us, if we were like, okay, Costco's in Goodyear or Surprise, but Trader Joe's is in Scottsdale. Yeah. So it's like, it's one of them, but I don't know. I thought it was funny, but granted, I'd rather live closer to the Costco. And I was unironically looking at the area closer to the Costco.
Yeah. Plus, I feel like as a society, we're now at the point too where they're building those like crazy. Yeah. And it's not like...
Yeah, I mean, we already have 2 on the West Valley. Yeah. Which is insane. And they're, 20 minutes away from each other on the highway? Yeah. 25 minutes? Yeah. Maybe. Well, with traffic.
And listen, if I have to drive to Surprise to go to Trader Joe's, I will.
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
Do it. So...
Exactly. I wouldn't complain.
Well, now that we have a friend up there, I told her, I'm like, hey, if I message you for some Trader Joe's stuff... Megan, if you're listening, I was like, I probably will ask you to get me some stuff from Trader Joe's now.
That's funny.
But yeah.
Shout out Trader Joe's. Shout out Costco.
No, for real.
We're open for brand deals. We are open for brand deals from Costco and Trader Joe's.
See, here's the funniest part about this podcast is that I started it just because I love to talk. Yeah. And Luis is very like, this is, not in a bad way, but more like material behind it, in the sense of like, you think about the brand deals and like how we can make it bigger, and I'm just here.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Luis, that's Luis's job.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same for me too. Like, I mean, obviously, like, we've been very, very open about like our intentions behind the podcast. Yeah. But at the same time, like, I do eventually want to reach more people, you know, and I want to get bigger. And bigger means brand deals. Bigger means, you know, collaborations with other creators. You know, I think it's funny to think about it. Like we're content creators now, like in a sense, which is kind of weird because we have a podcast. That's so
weird to think about.
I was actually talking to one of my buddies, and he was like, "Yo, have you thought about the fact that you're a content creator yet? How do you feel?" And I was like, "Dude, I didn't even think about that." Because
I don't know why, but anytime I hear the words like content creator or influencer, I just get so
cringe.
I feel icky.
Yeah, I cringe, but it's like, okay, you're right, but we're not really.
But we are.
I mean, we are, but we aren't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. I think for me, it's just like I would only like the growth just to reach more people. I think more people would benefit from listening to this podcast. Like, it's actually so funny, kind of moving away from our random topic.
Yeah.
But I think it's so funny because we were actually supposed to record this episode last night. But when I got home from church, my mom told me that we were throwing my little sister a belated birthday party, or like birthday dinner, really. Mm. Like, our family came over, my mom made some food, and family came over, her little friends came over, and it was really fun. And we were sitting around the living room, and I was sitting next to my uncle and my aunt, and my mom was talking about how busy I am. She was like, he keeps saying how he wants to, have a girlfriend and this and that. And because obviously I'm very open with my family, so I talk to them about it all the time. And she was like, yeah, he's always talking about how he wants a girlfriend and this and that, but he doesn't even have time for himself. And I was like, all right, let's change the conversation. Call me out like that. Yeah. And my uncle was telling me that, so on Saturday, they went up north to Flagstaff. My dad coaches my little cousin's soccer team. And so they all went up there for a game. And then we went to Casa Grande, my mom and I, with my little sister, because she had a game down there. And my uncle said that on their way back down, my cousins, they both fell asleep. And that my aunt and my uncle decided to put on the podcast.
Oh.
And
hey guys.
Yeah. And he was talking to me. I don't remember about what episode. And he was talking to me about the episode, and he was like, I really resonated with that. Like, you guys really like spoke about that really well. And I was just like, not only is it cool to know that like my uncle and my aunt are listening to the podcast, because ideally, like, in a sense, we are just going based off of us, like being young adults. But right. I think it's cool that we're reaching, like, even my little cousin listens to the podcast. He's a freshman in high school.
That's cool.
Like, and then obviously like my aunt and uncle listen to the podcast, and they have kids, they have careers, and stuff like that. And I just thought it was insane, but he says that he really enjoys it, and like they just started listening to it, and I think they were on the 3rd episode already, and they were just really happy. They were like, I think it's great, I can't wait for you guys to grow. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of the goal. I was like, realistically, like the brand deals, going back to the brand deals, brand deals would benefit us with, I think, in a sense, financially, but I think that the only thing that I would ever do with that money is just invest it into the podcast. Better equipment, cameras. Studio. Yeah, better
First
equipment,
and foremost.
podcast, studio, whatever it may be. Yeah. I just think it'd be, the ideas that I would have for the podcast would be amazing. So I that's in the sense of like, that's when I think brand deals and boosting ads on Instagram or something, like reaching somebody who could, I don't know, maybe even like invest in our podcast for it to grow or whatever the case may be. That's kind of the idea that I have, just because it's going to reach more people.
Yeah. I feel like you're more of the like business brains
right
of it, and I'm more of like the creative brains of it.
No, I would absolutely agree. For the people who don't know, like, Shay's the one who comes up with all the topics for every episode, and then I'm just here. I don't bring notes. I ask her the day of, like, hey, what are we talking about today? She tells me the topic of today. I go either while I'm at work, or if I get to go home early from work, I'm sitting the rest of the day praying about the topic today, and for the Holy Spirit to fill me and use me as a vessel to reach everybody who listens to the podcast episode. And I feel like it's worked out very well
Yeah.
because I'm not the type of person to plan things. I'm not a planner. I'm just kind of like one of those people. It's like, hey, it's time to do this. All right, let's do it. You know, like I don't think about like, oh, okay, like my flight's at 4 a.m. I have to be at the airport at 1 a.m. No, I'm not that kind of person. I show up like 40 minutes before. And I always make it through TSA. So.
And I'm always the person that has so many thoughts in my head that's why I'm the brains behind the actual content.
Yeah.
And ideas is because I have so many that they just naturally kind of work out.
Yeah.
And hey, I mean, we're going to hit 10 episodes this season. So, or 9 episodes this season. So, yeah, that's just a little funny. Behind the scenes, if this is your first time listening.
Yeah.
Welcome. We are at the table podcast.
Dude, yeah, we didn't even introduce ourselves.
No, we didn't. I'm Shay. We're talking over each other now.
I'm Luis.
I'm Shay. If this is your first time listening, that's a little behind the scenes of, just who we are and how we run things here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we rambled for a second there before we had an actual intro. That's so funny.
Yeah, that's actually hilarious.
Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. We are on episode 2 of our mini series on relationships. And I prefaced in the first episode that it's all types of relationships. So romantic, family relationships, friendships, all the things. Mm-hmm. Last week we touched on being healed and ready for either romantic relationships or real friendships, real biblical friendships and community. So I would recommend listening to that one first before jumping in today.
Yes.
Today we are going to be talking on a little bit of a deeper level. Still on the same topic. So for dating, we're going to be talking a lot about discernment, boundaries, how to be single well. Even when it comes to friendships, like the chosen family, for family, like actual family, talking a lot about how to be independent while still honoring your parents. Just those kinds of things. So where should we start?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard for me. I can't lie. Like I was thinking about this time. Obviously, for these last 3 episodes, like we've already you planned them ahead, and we've been kind of looking at the notes. I've been looking over the notes for the past week or so. Since we last recorded. What was it? Thursday that we recorded.
Yeah.
And so not even close to a week. It's been a couple of days. But
it's okay.
But I've been looking over the notes, and I kind of found myself finding it a little bit difficult only because I've never dated in, I guess, like a where one person, it's always been one person in and the other person out of their faith. So I obviously, like, I still have a lot to talk about on this topic, but as far as personal experience, which we kind of use that a lot in our episodes, and I was kind of thinking about it, and I was like, wow, this is like the first episode where I don't think I have any personal experience I could talk about other than dating unequally yoked.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're about to start, just because I mentioned it.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I think, obviously, there's a passage in 2 Corinthians. You have it here. It's 2 Corinthians 6:14.
I'll pull it up. Hold on.
Yeah, I can read it. I have it pulled up already.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah. And it says, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers, for what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? That's a question. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness?
Bars.
Yeah. I think speaking on the experience of being unequally yoked, so I've only ever dated one other person where I was Christian, they were also Christian. And that was my last relationship, going on 5 years ago. So, I've been single ever since. Obviously, like, for the people who don't know, like, I was engaged to this person, and, it went out the window. And pretty much finding out later after a couple conversations, like, I had found out that while I was running towards God, she was running away from God. And, I didn't take a lot of time to dwell on the breakup. Obviously, like, it hurt me for a really long time. And I know we were talking about it not too long ago, but I only just got the confirmation from the Lord that I'm now ready to be open for the possibility of relationship. And I think that it was perfect in the sense of, like, the way that I see it now versus the way that I saw it then. Obviously, like, me seeing it now, dating somebody before who was unequally yoked, our relationship was not a balance. Obviously, like, there was negative on one side and positive on the other. And looking back at it now, I learned a lot from that relationship in the best way possible. Not only for one, because I obviously got closer to the Lord. My faith grew a lot more. And I think that if I ever touch on the topic of my past relationship or go deeper into it, I think a lot of people can learn, and I think a lot of people can learn from your past relationship as well. I know we've talked about it too on the podcast a little bit. We haven't really gone in depth about the whole entire stories of our past relationships, just a little bit of tip of the iceberg. But maybe that's today, maybe that's today. But
honestly, we'll probably continue to touch on it.
Yeah.
Just knowing how big of an impact those relationships have had, A, on our testimonies, but B, just on our lives as a whole.
Yeah. Kind of backtracking a little bit according to the notes, because, like, obviously we had a different starting point, but I also kind of wanted to bring this up. I feel like this is a perfect kind of not segue, but I feel like these topics kind of bleed into each other as far as, like, dating an equally yoked, person and dating with discernment. I think
before we get too far, for those who may be newer in their faith or are younger in age, I just want to clarify a little bit on what it means to be unequally yoked or equally yoked. I don't want to just have this episode throwing around jargon that may not be understood. So just to clarify, with that passage that Luis read, a yoke is actually a farmer's tool, and it's kind of like a block of wood that would tie two animals together. And so the thought process behind being yoked with another person and being equally yoked is meaning that you're going at the same pace, but also in the same direction.
Right.
Right. So that's just to clarify, like, being unequally yoked with another person means that person, you tend to go different directions, or you're not at the same pace of faith. And then I do want to clarify too that being unequally yoked is not just about faith itself,
right,
but also where your faith takes you.
Yeah.
In the sense that you can both have the same level of faith and passion for Christ, but different goals, different, maybe you want to move to different countries.
Right.
Maybe you want to have kids and the other person doesn't. Maybe one person wants to live their life doing missions.
Yeah.
And your idea of mission is having kids, staying at home, so there's multiple levels of what it means to be unequally yoked.
Right.
So I wanted to throw that out there first before we kind of dove really in deep, just for anyone who may not know fully what that means.
Yeah, that was a great catch.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that we didn't even like kind of explain really what that meant for the people that are listening that may not know.
Because I know, like, I've said that term before, and I've had someone be like,
what does that mean?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just to clarify, for anybody who's listening and curious, that's what we're going to be talking about when we say equally or unequally yoked.
Yeah, no, I think it's kind of going back to it. Actually, I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna let you talk about it. I'm actually gonna hold off for a little bit. I feel like I've been yapping for a little too long. Okay. I want you to kind of segue us into the main topics of discernment and equally yoked.
Okay. I would say, and this is why I also said earlier, really listen to episode 1 before, because I'm going to be referencing and piggybacking a lot of what was already said in that episode. But when it comes to dating with discernment, kind of like what Louise said, that really ties into whether or not that person is equally yoked with you. But I want to say my main idea when it comes to discernment is that discernment is found, like I said in episode 1, when you're alone, when you're comfortable in your identity in Christ and you're okay with being alone. And that discernment really is just confirmation from the Lord or guidance from the Lord. That discernment will take you and kind of be like a guiding light when it comes to finding a partner or testing a partner's qualities. Because I will say this, you can meet incredible women of God and incredible men of God, but that doesn't mean they're going to be equally yoked. And so discernment comes, it's very like personal. In the sense that it's almost, I always think of discernment as like a gut intuition.
Yeah.
You know, like that gut feeling.
Yeah, no, I have a funny story about discernment, but
throw it in.
So kind of touching into the basis of my past relationship of my when I was with my ex-fiance, I have nothing bad to say about her either. Like, I just want people to know, like, regardless of how we ended, we, a few years later, we kind of talked about things and she explained everything as to why things happened the way they happened. For a lot of you guys who don't know, I was engaged to this girl that I met in college, and our engagement actually didn't end like in a nasty breakup or because something happened. I think kind of the moral of the story, just to not get into too much of the meat of the situation, but I moral of the story, she got cold feet, and instead of talking about it with me, she just ghosted. She just went away. She blocked me on everything when I was back home visiting my parents, because everybody was sick with COVID, and my mom had just recently gotten injured. And I was helping out with that. And so it was like this big thing. And while I was here, that was kind of, what happened. And then obviously, like, there was just immediate no contact. I was even blocked on, like, Spotify, for the people who want to know how deep it went. Like, obviously, I was blocked on, like, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. My phone number was blocked, but it went deep. It went even, like, Apple Music, Spotify, Visco, when Visco was popping, it went deep. And I do remember one of the things that had happened. Eventually, we, like, a few months later after that, we kind of got reconnected. She reached out and we were talking about things. Well, actually, one of her friends reached out because she had to move to New Jersey. And one of her friends reached out to me, and apparently she was like feeling really bad about the way that she went out, and then like we were starting to fix things and this and that. But she also mentioned something about discernment, and that her mom had very good discernment, and her mom's discernment, the Lord was supposedly telling her that I was cheating on her, which was nowhere near the truth.
That's insane.
Even before Christ, I've always been a very loyal person. I've always been a person who would never do such a thing. I would never act in such way. And I thought it was crazy that, her mom was obviously like, she wasn't a big fan of me. And that really sucked because at first, her and I were really close. And then out of nowhere, she just like completely switched off and was like, my daughter's not dating a Mexican, and it was kind of one of those things where race kind of got brought into it. And it was this big ordeal. But I remember her telling me, like, my mom's really good with her discernment, and I just want you to tell me the truth. Like, my mom's telling me that, the Lord's been telling her that you're cheating on me and this and that. And I'm like, well, first of all, no. Like, regardless of where I am in the world, I don't think in any situation, any given situation, would I ever fall into the temptation of cheating on my partner, especially when we were already engaged. That was a lot deeper for me. So I just thought it was funny because, like, obviously, like, there is discernment, but there's also you're given the space to listen to what you may think might be the Lord, but in reality it's the enemy. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I just got reminded of it because that was the first time I had ever heard the word discernment.
Yeah, and even like that really goes to show what I said, that discernment is personal. And I would say, of course, you can, and it actually is good, listen to the advice of other people.
Right.
Never, and this is a huge point I wanted to bring up a little bit when I'm going to talk about like red and green flags. But in terms of like isolation, like, don't isolate yourself in a relationship. Allow yourself to take advice from, your parents, your family, your friends who know your partner. Obviously, going back to the first episode, community is huge when you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's because we can't do this alone. We tend to have clouded judgment or bias or rose-colored glasses when it comes to certain things. So we need other people in our corner. However, discernment should not end through someone else.
Right.
Like in that example, and like even applying it to my own life, if someone told me like, oh, your partner's cheating on you, I had discernment from the Lord that was true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this isn't like shade. I'm just saying,
no, exactly. No,
this is how discernment should be.
Right.
Is that I would then take it to God myself.
Yeah.
Like discernment should never, like someone else's discernment shouldn't end through your ears.
Yeah.
It should be put out through your mouth to the Lord and saying, I've heard someone else is saying this thing, saying it's from you. No one else's confirmation from the Lord on something should be your confirmation.
Right.
And of course, the Lord can use other people to confirm things, but never take it at face value, because, and as much as this might be a bad thing to say, you can't always trust certain people.
Yeah.
With certain things.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to play your cards close to your chest.
Absolutely.
And I would still say, like, be open-minded, be open-hearted, but play those cards closer in the sense that, especially in a romantic relationship, not everybody needs to know your private business.
Absolutely.
And again, when it comes to like outside judgment, and again, just because you put that story out there, it's easy to make an example of it.
Absolutely.
But in the sense of the judgment of race being brought into the question, that judgment is probably what that quote unquote discernment was built upon.
Yeah.
And
yeah, absolutely.
Ultimately it was probably a false discernment, obviously, because I trust you. You are a very loyal person.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. about discernment in general is just, again, that it's very personal. It's between you and the Lord.
Yeah.
And he can and will use other people and situations to confirm something, but never end it at just that. Always take everything back to the Lord.
Yeah, 100%.
Always. That's always going to be my advice.
100%.
And here's the thing. God is so patient.
Absolutely.
Like, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten confirmation on something and I take it back. I'm like, is this really like what I think it is? Yeah. And he'll confirm it time and time again. So don't ever be like, oh, I'm annoying God, or I brought this thing up too many times. Like, he is so patient with us and he is so kind towards us. So when it comes to discernment, and I'll say this too, discernment in general over everything, but especially when it comes to discernment in relationships, God takes that very seriously.
Yeah.
Like, we aren't supposed to just be in a holy covenant with just anybody.
Absolutely.
So he will take that so seriously. And yeah, that discernment, of course, leads into whether or not your partner will be equally yoked.
Right.
I think it's also, when it comes to being equally yoked, it's also very easy to tell on a surface level.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's different levels to it.
Absolutely.
Obviously, there's like that surface level. Oh, they go to church, they serve in the church. That kind of like narrows down the pool, if you will.
Yeah.
But obviously, discernment is where you need to go further.
Yeah.
And that's just in terms of, do they live by the Spirit? Do they walk in the Spirit daily? Do they have the fruits of the Spirit? Can I see those fruits in their daily life? Or is it just when they're showing up to church or group? So, and this actually is a really great example too that we brought up last episode with that list and being equally yoked.
Right.
Because as Louise said in that example, writing down a list of qualities that you would want in a partner and then putting in your own name, that's what you begin to look for in your partner, because you know that it's within yourself.
Right.
So then that's also an easy way to kind of gauge where that person is at and where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like the thought process or the idea of being equally yoked to someone is very intimidating, because it can sometimes sound like maybe you guys aren't supposed to argue or have different opinions on anything. And I'll say, like, that's so not the case.
Right.
Like,
right.
No two humans are going to have everything in perfect alignment. Because here's the thing that I said in the other episode too. If you guys are 100% alike, there's no room for growth.
Right. Yeah.
There's no room for potential growth in the spirit and in the relationship itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So sometimes it can be a little intimidating, that thought of being equally yoked. So again, that's where your discernment comes in, of saying, they have all of the qualities, but that doesn't mean there's still room for growth in other areas.
Yeah. I actually think it's funny because it's been something that has been like very intimidating to me to kind of think about, like finding somebody who's equally yoked, because I don't really think of myself as like a, on a day-to-day basis. Like, the more I analyze, the more I'm like, oh wow, like I actually am this kind of person, and that's exactly what I look for in a partner. Or these are things that I actually need to work on, because I'm wanting this out of a partner, or whatever the case may be. And sometimes I do find it quite intimidating to be like, okay, I don't know. One, for example, is like the communication. Let's use that as an example. Like, I'm a very good person at communicating. But obviously, like, we all have our moments where, like, for example, today, like, I worked an 11-hour shift, and I was just kind of like dead, I was beat, and I'm feeling it now. But then again, it's like, obviously we had already talked about, doing the podcast episode, and, usually how I tend to be is like, if I'm not feeling it, I won't even respond. I tend to be that kind of person, or if I get really busy, I tend to not respond. I'm one of those people who's like, I'm almost 99% of the time really good at communicating. But obviously, like, I have my moments where I'm like, I got busy out of nowhere, and I'm just like, I respond like a couple hours later, or whatever the case may be. But that kind of thing kind of scares me, sometimes, not in a bad way. It scares me in a good way, because I'm like, wow, if I was with somebody who would communicate as good as I communicate, I'm like, that'd be perfect. But at the same time, it's like, would it be a little too perfect to the point where it's like, there's no room for growth in communication, or whatever the case may be, just using communication as an example. I don't know. I tend to feel, that intimidation, or that sort of, I don't want to call it fear, but it's like, what would be the word, that maybe not fear, but I don't even know.
I think, intimidation.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. This part of me is like, I think of myself every day, and I'm just like, I don't know, did I do good today?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And too, like, when I think of equally yoked, I think of like the non-negotiable morals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really where, like, you kind of have to, I feel like sometimes what happens is people tend to laser in on certain things.
Yeah.
When you really need to zoom out and have more of a bird's eye view.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to being equally yoked with a partner, it really comes down to your base morals. Like, do we want the same things?
Yeah.
Do we both want kids? Do we both want marriage? Do we both want to live in the same place?
Yeah.
Do we have the same idea of what it means to live out faith every day?
Right.
I think that, and obviously, like, fill in the blank when it comes to those like big non-negotiables.
Right.
And that's what you need to look for when it comes to being equally yoked with a partner. So here's what I'll say, an encouragement as well, to piggyback off of our first episode in this series, is make a list of your non-negotiables. And that's your like core thing to look for when it comes to someone being equally yoked, because communication can always improve.
Absolutely.
Being slow to anger can always improve.
100%.
Faithfulness and daily walk with the Lord can always improve. And of course, those are so important, but those should never be end all be all when it comes to looking for a partner.
Yeah.
And when I mean like faithfulness as well, I don't mean like your base level faith in the Lord. I just mean kind of like how you're walking it out. Because obviously, like, your level and depth of faith in the Lord is obviously going to be a part of those non-negotiables.
Right.
But I think that would help a lot of people take that pressure and intimidation off of, oh, like, are we equally yoked? Like, we don't align in this area.
Right.
If you're feeling that way, I would also, again, like, take a step back from a bird's eye view and say, we may not be in perfect alignment in this area, but is it something that the Lord brought us together so that we can improve each other in that area?
I guess I wanna ask this question just because I'm speaking out of experience of like, this wasn't like something in my relationship, but it was. I remember this question being posed. It was one of those situations where. So how, I'm curious to what you would say. Say I'm like, okay, I know that the Lord's calling me to South Carolina. I've known it for a while, and it's something that I still pray heavy about today. We actually had a moment of prayer at the end of our service on Sunday, and the only thing I could think of was South Carolina, ministry, and a bunch of other things that I won't talk about because they're still a little personal. But I was kind of thinking, and I remember when I was living in Texas talking with my pastor and stuff like that in relationships. When you are dating somebody, say, okay, my partner would love to stay in Arizona, but they are open to following me wherever I go, right? Say like I'm being called to South Carolina and my partner's like, well, I really want to stay in Arizona, but I'm willing to follow you wherever you go, obviously, because, you are my partner. In the sense of like, the way that I see it is I'm like, I think about that example being brought up of like, me saying the Lord's calling me to South Carolina. My partner is open to the move, but would more likely want to stay here for X, Y, and Z. And one thing that I also was told by one of my good friends, he told me like, when you date somebody, you have to think about like in that situation. Because I asked him this question, he said, in that situation, your partner has to also think about and pray about, is me moving somewhere where I don't really want to move, but I do want to follow my partner, and it's not stopping my calling to the Lord. So then I'm kind of curious to think like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I mean, I don't want to say bad thing, but is it a good thing?
I would say that when it comes down to dating, that I'm trying to formulate my words.
No, you're good.
So
you're
that
good.
I don't say anything out of pocket.
Right.
But truthfully, if I'm speaking honestly, if it comes down to dating, they are not your spouse. And my point in saying that, although that sounds obvious, is that you don't owe a boyfriend or girlfriend anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to like your calling for the Lord.
100%. I agree.
And I really don't personally, I don't like the idea of just following someone somewhere, because the premise of it and like the thought process of it is more so like, oh, I'm going to follow you because of you and not because of the Lord.
Right.
Like, of course, the Lord can use you no matter where you're at. And the Lord will always, here's the thing too, if we go off of our, like God's will for our life, he will still work all things for the glory of those who love him.
Absolutely.
And so, of course, you can follow a partner, but that, if it's not fully God's will for your life, will take you outside of it.
Yeah.
And it's not about, like, for me personally, I don't want second best to God's will.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely not.
I want absolute 100% of what God's will is for my life.
Yeah.
And so just the thought process of like following someone sounds very like fleshly in the sense of like, no, agree. I want to follow this person.
Yeah, I could absolutely agree with you.
And here's the thing. I also truly believe that if two people are meant for marriage and meant for a holy covenant, God will not call them in separate ways.
Absolutely.
So if God is calling one person to one place, the other person will get that same calling.
Right.
Especially when it comes to marriage. Like when you are married, you become one.
Right.
God would not give you two separate callings if you're meant to be in covenant.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of my thought process behind it.
Yeah.
And I've also heard testimonies of that time and time again of two people in marriage or in dating who have the same calling in like separate times. Like they're praying separately, they're taking advice separately, they come to separate revelations that they're meant to do this one thing. And if they're dating, they end up in marriage.
Yeah.
Or obviously if you're already in marriage, like again, you're called to the same place.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thought process behind it.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely, I absolutely agree with everything you said. I think for me, the reason why I found it a little bit difficult to kind of find a way, because like obviously like I don't pray about that specific situation. I would hope that that's not a situation that would happen with me. You know what I mean? But I think for me, it's like, it's obviously difficult because I have gotten the confirmation from the Lord, and this is something obviously, like I said before, like I've been praying for the past almost 5 years to be ready and open for a relationship. And now I think about it and I'm like, well, if the Lord is calling me to South Carolina, I guess for me, like obviously there's no timeline, and well, there is, but it's on the Lord's time. It's not on my time. But I tend to lose myself in the thought of like, okay, well, what if I start dating somebody here and then like, I already know the Lord is calling me to South Carolina. I guess I get scared of the idea to be like, of that exact thing happening, of, you know, me moving with this person and then in marriage. And then it's just like, well, the Lord never even called my partner here. You know, they followed me because of me. They didn't follow me here or they didn't come to the same place as me because the Lord called them here. No, it was because they wanted to follow me. And they didn't want to lose the relationship. And I think that it's just kind of a fear, but it's also one of those what ifs, you know? So for me, it's like, I know at the beginning of this podcast, you know, Shay and I would talk about all of my what ifs and stuff like that. And I think I've gotten really good at it, of, you know, like, I don't really think about the what ifs anymore. You know, I think the what ifs are almost doubt that the enemy is kind of filling me with. And, you know, I've kind of come to that answer because it tends to be doubt about things that like, okay, well, the Lord wouldn't allow that. And if he did, it's obviously for a reason, you know, so I shouldn't really dwell in the what ifs or the worst case scenarios or anything like that. So I was just curious about what you would say, because that was one thing that kind of just popped into my head. I remembered that sort of example of, you know, when we were having this conversation about relationship in one of my community groups in Texas.
Yeah. And I just want to say, when I first met you, you were only what ifs.
Yeah. 100%. Always so a what if person.
It is really cool to see how the Lord has worked that out.
Yeah.
And that a lot of that doubt and that fear has been dwindled.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just wanted to say that. But
yeah.
I kind of wanted to move into, you know, you are actively dating, mm-hmm. or like actively dating other people, but may not actually be in a relationship yet.
Right.
Or either in trying to seek out new friends. I kind of wanted to touch on like boundaries and like red and green flags.
Okay.
To kind of look out for. I would say obviously like a big red flag is something that can kind of be easily spot to a certain extent, but just like surface level faith. Mm-hmm. I think that's obviously a really huge one.
Yeah.
And then last episode, or like in this series, the last episode we talked about, we brought up accountability a lot as well. Yeah. And that is going to kind of tie into this too, because I think that also is kind of a huge red flag. Accountability in the sense of like avoiding like mentorship or
right.
Avoiding criticism or feedback in faith. And that's actually just so perfect because our pastor talked about it this past Sunday, and how, you know, finding God's will for your life, find someone who is farther along in their faith and have a mentor who can pour into you and give you feedback and ways to grow. And I think that that's really, really important, especially going into a romantic relationship. Especially if it's a married couple, I would highly advise that because they will obviously have great advice.
Yeah.
In terms of what the dating process looks like, and engagement in marriage. So those are two that I think are super important. And then one I touched on a little bit earlier in this episode is isolation.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to bring this one up because in my past relationship, that was also an engagement. And during that relationship, I do want to preface, neither of us were Christian.
Right.
So it was a little bit harder for me to like find a good community in the first place. But during that relationship, it became extremely codependent and so isolating, to the point where it felt like I had to stay with him because I wouldn't have anyone else. And I finally got out of it because I really can't explain it. And this is just like a huge part of my testimony, is it really just felt like a tug from the Lord of like, this isn't good enough.
Right.
Like something in that relationship just really sparked me to say like, I want better. Yeah. I want to finish my degree. Like I want to go back to school. I want to get the degree. I want to get into a career. I want to not have to worry about being paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Like there were just so many things where it kind of, I felt like it was just like a light bulb moment of I need more. Mm-hmm. And it was honestly terrifying because I was so isolated.
Yeah.
And, you know, didn't really have many friends, maybe had a few, and they were really just coworkers. So it was just hard. Isolation is a huge red flag. Mm-hmm. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in a certain standpoint, it's a red flag. I think, well, obviously, like we both know, like isolation in the Lord is different from isolation just from in general.
I'm talking about like purposeful isolation.
Yeah.
Like either your partner is purposely depending on you too much to the point where it's like pushing away all of your friends.
Right. And I think I've been in that situation before. And I think that it wasn't so much of like a codependency kind of thing. I think I just saw it in the way of like, well, this is my best friend and I want to spend all the time with this person, to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm not even really friends with this person anymore, or anything like that. Like, and I started losing friends, or I would only come to these people whenever, you know, something bad was happening in my relationship and stuff like that. And I never really thought about it, but now that you say it in that sense, I definitely do understand it a little bit more, because I've never really thought about it like that. But kind of thinking about, you know, like how I talked about it in I want to say the first or second episode where, you know, me moving back to Arizona, I didn't really have friends moving back. And every time I've moved back to Arizona, like I've never really had friends moving back. And it's because like, oh, I lost them because I moved, or, you know, just different things in life. But a lot of it, kind of now thinking of it, was I kind of just stopped paying attention to these people for X, Y, and Z. And in the situation of my passing relationship, it was more of like, I wanted to spend time with my partner so much because I saw that person as my best friend, to the point where I wasn't even hanging out with the guys anymore. You know, I was kind of isolating myself from the guys. And I actually got to hang out with one of my buddies last night. Not really hang out like in person, but we got to hang out on the game. For anybody who's a gamer out there, we were playing Skate. He's a huge part of my testimony, my buddy Guillermo. I know he told me that he didn't know we had a podcast, but I mentioned it to him, and he said he would give it a listen. But shout out to Guillermo whenever you listen to this episode. We had really good conversation about everything, you know, and about our faith, and, you know, me telling him about my calling, and because I isolated from him, especially when I was engaged to my past partner. So
yeah. And this is why I, again, brought up last episode in this relationship series, is I personally would not recommend trying to find or get into a romantic relationship if you are not firmly established in a community.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because here's the thing, if you're not firmly like bedrock foundation, you have good friends around you, good community around you, and you try to jump into a romantic relationship, that can really isolate you. And it's not necessarily an on purpose thing on your end or your partner's end. But if you don't have that firm relationship set up between friends, you tend to naturally want to, again, hang out with your partner more. And that also has to go with what I said last episode about being intentional with friendships. That almost has to, you almost have to be more intentional with friendships once you're in a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Because again, it's very easy to naturally want to spend more time with your romantic partner, because, you know, you want that relationship to grow. You want it to go somewhere. So yeah, that's just like another piece of isolation.
Yeah.
I would say another really big red flag that I've seen is inconsistent character when it comes to faith.
Right.
And that can also be pretty easy to spot. But I will say it can be hard to confront. Obviously, it's really easy to, you know, try and get into a partnership or even a friendship with someone, and they, you know, they do all the right things. They read the word, they go to groups, they go to the church every Sunday. But if they aren't living out their faith, and well, or if they contradict their faith.
Yes.
Again, that can be pretty easy to spot, but it also can be hard to confront. But it really just comes down to, again, being really firmly established in your own faith and in the Word of God, and knowing, like, you would need to be biblically literate. Like, you need to be in the Word in order to notice when someone's not.
Yeah.
Just in the sense of like their character.
Yeah. I think I kind of wanted to touch on a kind of more of a friendship red flag, and I kind of just I remembered it just kind of based off of what you were saying, and it kind of almost hasn't something to do with character, I think. But missionary dating. I think is a big red flag for me as far as friendships go. I've had a ton of, you know, friends who love the idea of missionary dating, in the sense of like they want to date somebody. For those of you who don't know what missionary dating is, the term just comes from, you know, somebody who's a Christian wants to date somebody who's non-Christian in hopes that it'll lead their partner into faith in Christ. For me, it's a huge red flag in the sense of like, you know, I think that I feel like there's a bigger probability of your faith being damaged in missionary dating, rather than bringing this person who's a non-Christian into faith in Christ. And I got to see it, you know, and I saw it firsthand from, you know, multiple buddies of mine who, some of them obviously are not friends with me, or we're not friends anymore because of this. And it played a huge part. It just kind of boils down to what we were talking about earlier in being unequally yoked. That I feel like there's no point in missionary dating. I think it's funny because, like, the way that I see it is, you obviously see that happening, you know, somebody missionary dating, and you're just like, dude, like, I don't see the point of that relationship continuing to go on. And by all means, you know, like, I'm not going to sit here and play father to somebody, you know, I'm not going to play as somebody's dad in the choices that they make. You know, it's not my job. But obviously I express my concerns as a friend, and getting to see it firsthand really, really brought it up to me as a huge red flag in a friendship. When you're seeking a friendship, if somebody's missionary dating, I think it's a huge red flag. And yeah.
Yeah. And even all of the red and green flags I'm bringing up, like, they 100% apply to of course, romantic relationships, but definitely friendships as well.
Yeah.
Friendships can isolate you. Friends can have inconsistent characters. Friends can have no accountability. This is definitely a universal red and green flag. And I'm honestly really, really glad you brought that up. Purely because I missionary dated someone.
You're right.
And it wasn't, here's the thing too, it wasn't even like
intentional.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, I'm getting in this relationship because I want this person to be saved.
Yeah.
It was more so like, oh, I'm Christian, but I'm settling. And that's also a huge, huge thing that, again, I had just moved down here. I had no community. I was already isolated. Like all of these things that I'm saying to avoid, this is the outcome. So this is why I'm trying to warn people who are listening against these things, is because trust me, I've done it and it does not end well.
Yeah.
And you are 100% right that during that relationship, I was the one who started losing faith rather than him growing in faith. And, you know, obviously we ended up breaking up, and he went on to still grow in faith, and then he ended up getting baptized last year.
That's awesome.
So I'm really happy for him. Yeah. But I here's the thing. I highly doubt he would have done it if we continued dating.
Right.
So that's also just a huge thing of like, sometimes you're only meant to be in certain people's lives for certain seasons.
Right.
So yeah, I'm just really happy you brought that up, because I am quite literally a byproduct of missionary dating.
I think I'd consider that almost like a successful, very rare,
like
very rare, like
success.
one in 1 million success stories of missionary dating.
Yeah. And again, he didn't end up getting saved because we were still dating. So
right.
It was like a very backwards salvation, if you will.
Yeah. And but it's kind of funny. I don't think I definitely have thought about it before. But obviously, like, I've never followed through with it, because I know that what it boils down to, you know, and it talks about it in the Bible, you know, and but I've definitely thought about it before. I'm not gonna say I haven't. I just think it's really funny, the whole missionary dating concept.
Yeah.
There was another red flag that kind of popped up into my head kind of before I went on that little rant about missionary dating. I feel like a red flag that I see is incorrect judgment. And you know, this kind of boils down to the idea of, I have never dealt with this problem like firsthand, but I've seen it happen around me, where people stop being friends with certain people because, like, I don't listen to secular music, so I don't want to be your friend anymore because you do. You know, stuff like that. Like, it kind of boils down to the incorrect judgment of a person, or of what a relationship or friendship can kind of turn into, because of your incorrect judgment, or kind of holding your values a little too, I don't want to say like to a higher standard or something like that, but it's more of like what it comes down to is like, I've seen it a lot, and you know, to people around me, where, you know, like, we were kind of talking about it in our conviction episode about, like, we don't feel necessarily convicted about listening to like secular music. Like, I mean, we were listening to country music before this, and one of the songs was literally about a dude telling, like, all right, buddy, you know, like, slow down, like, she's my girl too, you know. But it's a great song, you know what I mean? Like, am I gonna apply this to my life? Absolutely not. Right. I just think it's a good song. And but, you know, somebody not wanting to be my friend because I'm listening to that song, I just think it's a little bit of a incorrect judgment about who I am and where I am in my faith and my heart posture towards the Lord, and not wanting to be friends with somebody. I think there has to be an openness of everybody, even in secular friendships and relationships. Oh, maybe not relationships, but friendships, at least for me. Yeah. I have a lot of buddies who are not in their faith, And they ask me questions all the time because they know that I am. But I think the idea of being friends with somebody or not being friends with somebody just because they're not Christian, or they do certain things that you feel conviction on, and they don't feel convicted on it, like those kinds of things. And you kind of perceive this idea of like judging the person that they are because they do the things that you feel convicted of. I think it's just wrong, and I think that's a huge red flag.
Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of another red flag I wanted to bring up, which was boundaries. And someone who either blatantly disrespects or pushes boundaries.
Right.
With full intention and awareness that they're doing it. Obviously, people can make mistakes. We're all human. And we can accidentally push a boundary without knowing. And I think that's like a huge, huge, huge thing. And whether, if again, romantic relationships, it can be like purity boundaries.
Yeah.
And, I obviously like stepping into a romantic relationship, set those boundaries as early as you can. And they're not going to look the same for anybody, like everybody either. I know someone who just got married to the love of her life, and they didn't even kiss during the entire year that they were dating.
Wow.
So obviously, again, like those boundaries are going to look different for everybody.
Yeah.
But set them early, set them often.
I was like auto-tune there. Dude. That was weird.
Yeah, no, that's my advice though for boundaries in relationships, friendships, and even family, is to set boundaries often and as early as you can. Yeah. And here's the thing too that I want to just throw in real quick is you need to stand on business when it comes to your boundaries.
Yeah.
And that can be a very hard thing to do, but here's the thing, like if you let someone pass or push a boundary once, they think that they can do it all the time. Right. So you have to set them early, set them often, and stand on business and actually stick by those boundaries.
Yeah. I actually kind of wanted to touch on this subject. You kind of reminded me of a story so there's somebody who is at our church. I won't out them, but wonderful, amazing person. If you're listening to this and you recognize the story that I'm about to bring up, I just want you to know that I love you so much. You're a great brother to me. But we were kind of talking about it in our men's group that we normally do on Mondays. And I led this day, and the topic was about relationships. And they were very open about the idea that, there's somebody who is not like a very sexual person. Like they don't think about like, oh, I can't wait to get married to have sex, or I can't wait to have sex when I get married, or they actually posed the idea, or he posed the question of, is it wrong for me to not want to have sex right off the bat after I get married to my partner? And I think that was perfect for boundaries, because that's exactly what we were talking about. Like if that is what you are seeking, I think that is something that you have to pose to your partner right off the bat. Yeah. And set that boundary, especially because he mentioned like he didn't want to kiss. He and then after marriage, like he didn't want to have sex right off the bat. He actually wanted to wait a little bit, like maybe the first year into his marriage, and stand on purity in marriage. And I can't say that I necessarily agree. Me personally, like I don't think I would act on that, or I don't necessarily feel called to acting in purity in the first year of marriage, at least in this moment. But I think it was a great question, and I think it was great that he brought it up, because it kind of sparked some thoughts for me about boundaries, about setting that boundary with your partner right off the bat. Like, hey, like I just want to let you know before we start dating, if this leads into a marriage, I don't want to have sex for the first year of our marriage. Yeah. And it kind of sparked a little bit of interest as to why. And obviously I asked him why, and I won't say, but I thought it was great. And setting boundaries is so important, not only in friendships and not only relationships and family, but just in general with everybody who's around you. Because like Shay said, you know, like there will be people who kind of step over that boundary, and if you continue to allow them, like they're gonna take that as like, oh, it's not a boundary for me, so I'm gonna keep.
Yeah, it's almost like you give permission.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I don't know who he's talking about, but if you're listening, and to anybody who may think the same thing, that is totally normal.
Yeah. I think that's like I don't
completely normal.
Yeah, not weird at all.
No. And honestly, that's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
like it really is because to have such a high standard and have such a holy standard by which you want to go into dating and even into marriage, that's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also just as encouragement, like someone will feel the same way as you.
Yeah.
Like it is normal. It's not like a out of the box thing.
No, definitely not.
But I just wanted to wrap up the red and green flag section. And I wanted to just kind of like rapid fire the green flags because they're kind of just like polar opposites of the red flags. So they kind of just make sense.
Yeah.
Obviously for the red flag of having no accountability, the green flag is someone who does. They have a mentor in their life. They're in the church. They're open to growth is a huge thing. You don't want someone who is closed off to the idea of growing in faith,
right,
or growing in character, or growing in their career, or in any aspect of their life. Obviously, you'll want someone with integrity. Find someone who lives by the Spirit, who what they do and what they say lines up with how they live and how they read the Word.
Yeah.
They'll act in the fruit of the Spirit. They won't just say they have it. They'll be humble. They'll be hospitable. Again, teachable is a huge thing. And I think those are like the main, and obviously to end it all for the red and green flags is completely Christ-centered life. Like that is the number one green flag in my book.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. I think that's it's kind of a given, but for the people who are not necessarily in their faith or kind of like a surface level Christian, I think that's a non-negotiable as a Christian, is a Christ-centered relationship, friendship, etc.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This episode's getting kind of long, so we might end up doing the rest of the topics in the next relationship series episode.
What are we at?
Like an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were chatting for a while.
It's been a good episode, though. I've really enjoyed talking about this.
Yeah, me too.
I know that there was a topic that I wanted to talk about. Maybe we can end it there if you want.
Yeah.
Well, I'll kind of mix these together. Singleness with purpose, and then respect and independence. I think, first of all, you know, singleness with purpose is such a huge thing that, you know, I can honestly say, at least for myself, because I don't want to say you as well, because I don't know, you know, that's like a you thing. I don't want to speak for you. Okay. But I think for me, it's like, obviously singleness with purpose it kind of means like, you know, searching for that connection and relationship with the Lord every single day. You know, when you're single, you know, acting with purpose in growing your faith, as far as kind of what we talked about earlier, kind of what I mentioned in the last episode as far as the list goes, which is a practice that I actually did not have time to do. And hopefully I'll have a little bit more time this week to actually do my own list. And I'm willing to share it kind of on the podcast. I really am. But you know, these things are non-negotiables for me, as far as like, while you're single, you have to actively be pursuing the Lord. You have to actively be pursuing growth in your faith in the Lord, and trying to look more like Him every single day. I think is something that you have to do while you're being single with a purpose. I think these are non-negotiables for anybody. They're non-negotiables for myself. I think I can confidently say that that's a non-negotiable for you as well, because you're over there shaking your head. But
I'm like, you might as well have lumped me in. Yeah, like, I 100% agree.
It's just like, it's one of those things, because like, I'm not going to sit here and say that I am perfect in this season of my life where I'm single. I've definitely had my ups and downs. I'll put it out there. I'm not even afraid to. There have been moments where I've been very weak, and I've been searching on dating apps for a hookup or whatever the case may be. Like I've been that deep in these past 5 years to act in such way. I never really went as far as to actually doing these things, but I know that I was weak in certain moments where I was searching for it, and when it was about to happen, I definitely held back, and I felt that conviction. But that's kind of what it looks like. And it doesn't look like that for everybody, but this is what singleness with purpose kind of looks like, is when you are in those weak moments and you feel that conviction, you have to act on the conviction.
Yeah.
Don't just let it eat you alive and be like, you know what? Well, the Lord is going to forgive me anyway. No, because that's not what it's about.
And I just want to preface that, not preface, but just to throw in real quick.
Yeah.
Read the book of Romans.
Right.
Like Paul spits some truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the main things he says, is that we are not forgiven so that we can go and sin.
Right.
He says grace abounds, but not so that we can sin all the more.
Right.
So just to kind of throw that in there, read the book of Romans, and that really sets like a baseline.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But I also just wanted to throw in, I kind of forgot. Give me just a second.
No, you're good.
In singleness with purpose, of course, it's really important to prioritize Christ and your relationship with him. Mm. But it also goes further into use that time to become the absolute best version of yourself in all aspects. Mm. Don't ever don't procrastinate these things.
Right.
Don't think like, oh, well, I can find a partner and then I'll start these things later.
Yeah, no.
That's not how it works.
No.
Be in a good place mentally, physically, emotionally. If you've been through some things, go to therapy. Therapy has been great when I've tried it in the past. I know people who still see therapists today, and they absolutely rave about it and recommend it to everybody. Go to the gym, eat healthy, get yourself good physically. Going into marriage or having kids, like, you'll want to be healthy. And just like mentally and spiritually dig into the word, and really don't just read it to grow, and read it to really study it and learn more about Jesus's character.
Right.
So yeah, just throwing that in, that singleness with a purpose is bettering yourself, even if it's just 1% daily.
Yeah.
That's your time to really invest in yourself.
Yeah.
I know for me personally, the biggest investment in myself right now is going back to school and putting 110% back into school.
Yeah, absolutely.
I made a promise with the Lord before even starting that I'm going to do everything I can to get all A's.
Yeah.
And so far, he has provided.
Absolutely.
So if you're single, use that singleness to really better yourself every single day.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I feel like that's kind of where I wanted to segue, or kind of again, using the same metaphor of like, it bleeds into the same as far as independence goes. You have to find your independence, not only in every aspect of your life, but being able to be independent with the Lord. I think it's such a big thing, and it's been something that it took me a really long time. It has taken me all these years to kind of find that independence of being able to isolate myself, but not in the way that we were talking about it as in the red flag, but in the green flag of isolation within the Lord. you have to be okay. And we kind of talked about it in the last episode, right? Yeah. It is, being able to be okay with, being by yourself, and knowing that you are in a sense alone, but you're not really alone because the Lord is everywhere and the Lord is always around you. I think that that's kind of where it ties in. You have to be comfortable with your own independence. You have to be proud of your independence within the Lord. You have to be proud of being alone. I can honestly say that, and I mentioned it in the past, like, I may not be in the season that I want to be, but I am so content to where the Lord has me in my life currently.
Yeah.
Obviously I would love to be in a moment where I'm married and I have a home and I have kids running around the house, or like I'm showing up from work and, dada, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a dream. It's a dream. And that's not where I'm at right now, but I literally have no complaints and I'm so happy, and a lot of it has to do with, get this, community. The friends that I have around me, are helping me so much and growing in my faith. I don't know if we mentioned this in the past episode, but for the past 3 weeks I missed church. And a lot of it was, that I needed a little mental health break, and some of it, I was busy. This is a very busy season for myself and my family because of, siblings, birthdays, soccer kind of revolves around my family almost daily. And a lot of it just had to do with, having to give my little sister right to a game and, having a busy day at work. So I took a weekend off, of going to a church, and then I went with another buddy to service and, X, Y, and Z. But I think that, in this season, finding that independence and being able to feel comfortable, within myself, to the point where I'm now at the point where, I'm ready for non-independence, in the sense of,
right, yeah.
Now I'm ready for a relationship, and I'm actively looking for a partner. So you shouldn't be scared of being single. You shouldn't be scared of having to be independent. I think there's a lot of benefits that come with it, especially if you're keeping the Lord as your main priority.
I was just thinking that I wanted to bring up Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you.
Yeah.
Because truly, when you get to that point of, if I only have the Lord, that's all I need.
Right.
When you really get, like, when it actually clicks for you, everything else is like, oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I don't need it though.
Right.
And also, just to say, like, when you were saying, like, I'm content even though I'm not in the season I might want to be in, I just want to say too, like, that's so normal, and that it's also completely okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, sometimes I feel like people can feel guilty of, like, oh, I want more.
Yeah.
But that's so normal. And God wants you to have those big dreams. He wants you to ask for more.
Yeah.
And we've said this, like, in the first couple episodes of this podcast, that closed mouths don't get fed. Ask the Lord.
Yeah.
Because he is so patient and he is so kind, and he wants to provide those things for you. He is a loving father.
Yeah.
He wants you to have all of your heart's desires, obviously, if they align with the word. Just throwing that in there.
Yeah.
But that's also just a huge thing of, like, you're allowed to be content with where you're at while still yearning for more.
Right.
But yeah, just wanted to throw that in there because you, like, we were on the same wavelength.
Absolutely.
For that one.
Yeah. I think it was great. I mean, that's exactly where I was going with it, and I'm glad that you said it because I didn't know the verse exactly right off the top of my head. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at, and it, for the people who are listening, who like we said before, are surface level Christians or may not be in their faith, like it's a different timeline for everybody, but it's taken me these past almost 5 years to be in that moment, to be in this season where I'm content because I know that all I need is the Lord, and everything else is kind of like icing on top of the cake for me. And Lord's given me a lot of icing recently, especially with my friends, my family. A lot of great memories being made, and I couldn't be happier. Even though I know that I want more, and I actually kind of wanted to touch on the subject that you said, like just quickly, about feeling guilty, because you and I had a lot of conversations, especially when we first started this podcast. When I was a very what if person, I always felt guilty asking the Lord for more, because I know that He was blessing me with a lot, especially in this season. I've been blessed a lot with this job. We've done so many things as friends. We got to watch a show all together and see the big finale, and I think it's something that in these little things, I think the Lord has blessed me so much, because for everybody who doesn't know, and actually I've never really spoken about this with you guys, like, this is all I've ever wanted. This is all I've ever wanted. All I've ever wanted was friends that I know that I'm going to be able to keep for life. Friends that I know that, regardless of where we are in the world, if we move to different countries, different states, like, I know that these are my people that are going to stay friends and are going to be around my family, when the Lord has that for me and stuff like that. So, it may happen in a couple months. It may happen in a couple weeks for you. In my instance, it took me almost 5 years, and I couldn't be happier. And I'm so content. And I know now that all I ever need is the Lord, and His little blessings along the way have definitely helped me to understand that the Lord is the most important thing in my life. And I could be living under a bridge right now, but as long as I have the Lord, I know that my happiness would be through the roof. So,
yeah, that's it, folks. That's the perfect place to end it. Really,
just drop the mic.
Yeah, honestly, it always boils down to the Lord.
Yeah,
and His presence is literally all you will ever need.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Before the episode ends, I wanted to give a quick shout out. I wanted to give a quick shout out to your buddy Hannah, who is an active listener of this podcast.
Love you, girl.
It was a blessing meeting you, and I'm so happy that Shay brought you. I wish that we could have talked a little bit more. Obviously, we had like a couple conversations right before service, and I didn't really get to talk to you afterwards. But I'm gonna kind of make this decision now. I would love to have you on the podcast next season.
Oh yeah.
This is something that is hilarious how this happened. So obviously we met yesterday, and I dreamt last night her being on this podcast.
That's so funny.
And we were talking about something, and I don't necessarily remember exactly what we were talking about, but I remember in my dream, I felt the presence of the Lord in that conversation. And I was like, I just have to bring this up. And I wanted to extend that invitation now before we kind of get over and figure out who else we're inviting. I wanted to extend that invitation to your buddy. So, yeah.
Okay. I'll let her know. She's listening.
Yeah, so she'll be listening, so she'll know. Yeah.
But
alrighty,
that's gonna be it for today.
Bye.
Well, real quick, obviously we're gonna talk about like family as well, and more about friendships.
Yep.
So I just want to preface, stay tuned. We're actually just going to move that to next week's episode.
Right.
Obviously we spent a lot of time today in regard to dating. So yeah, last episode for the series and for the season. We're going to be touching a lot about, again, those family ties, and generational gaps.
Yes.
In faith, and also, of course, the chosen family, the friends that you have around you.
Yeah.
But more to expect in that episode. We're going to talk a lot about conflict resolution in friendships, family relationships, giving grace versus enabling people. Again, like giving permission for people to cross boundaries.
Yeah.
Touch more on that. And just a lot about God's timing.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. We will touch on all of it.
Yeah. Don't forget to follow us on the podcast wherever you're listening. Subscribe on YouTube. Add us into your playlist on Apple Music, Spotify.
Please.
Follow us on Instagram @TheTablePod. you'll see us there. It's the same profile picture that we have for our podcast on every platform.
Yep.
So yeah, please follow us. Send us some messages if you guys have any questions. I know we've extended it out to you guys before. Feel free to reach out to us, either on our personal accounts, but especially on the podcast account. Make sure to follow us, repost if you can, just so that we could reach more people. I think that's our entire goal, and I want to make that a goal now before we end the season, especially starting the upcoming season. I think when we have more people invited onto the podcast, it'd be great for more people to be listening. Maybe there's something that you need to hear. Maybe there's something that you needed to hear in this season and you want to extend it to your friends. If you guys could please repost our posts, follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Sorry for making it a little bit longer than the past few. But we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.